Trigger warning. I will be talking about sexual abuse, so if this is a sensitive topic for you, now is your chance to exit this video and go watch one of my more lighthearted videos. Thank you. Hi, I'm Essie. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm happy to have you here today. As you saw from the title and the warning, I will be talking about sexual abuse today. More so, can parents protect their children from sexual assault? Is it possible to prevent your child from being a victim of sexual abuse? Are there measures that can be put in place to prevent such occurrences? As a survivor of sexual abuse, I often ask myself, was there anything that my parents could have done to protect me? You see, I grew up with my father in a Jamaican household with about 13 other family members. Some of them were on and off residents. But any family member who needed a place to stay or to rest or just to get on their feet was welcomed in that home. So uncles and different men were often in and out of the house. And they're family, so there shouldn't be a problem, right? Wrong. You see, many people are still under the impression that sexual abuse and assault happens mostly by strangers, maybe hiding in the bush at a park, or a creep driving a white van, or other scenarios you've seen in movies. But that's actually not the case in most instances. In fact, according to RAINN is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. It's the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. And according to their statistics, 8 out of 10 rapes are committed by someone known by the victim. 19.5% are committed by a stranger, 39% are committed by an acquaintance, 33% are committed by a current or former spouse, boyfriend, or girlfriend. 6% are committed by more than one person or the victim cannot remember, and 2.5% are committed by a non-spouse relative. The majority of teen victims actually know the perpetrator. Of sexual abuse cases reported to authorities, 93% of juvenile victims knew the perpetrator. 59% were acquaintances, 34% were family members, and 7% were strangers to the victim. It also states on the RAINN website that half of perpetrators are over the age of 30. So that's 50% being over the age of 30, 25% are between 21 and 29 years old, 9% are between the ages of 18 and 20, and 15% are younger than 17 years of age. And now if you look at the race of perpetrators, we have 57% being white or Caucasian, 27% being committed by blacks, 8% from unknown ethnicity, 6% goes to others, and 1% is a mixed group. Whatever that means. So these numbers are from reported cases, and as most of you know, majority of cases are actually not reported. So you can expect to have some discrepancies there. In fact, I have a feeling that the reason the race of black perpetrators is so low is because we blacks tend to report much less. And no, that's not a statistic. So just to give you some context as to why I make that assumption, let me just say this. I have not reported my abuse to authorities. Most, if not all women in my family were sexually abused. Not one of them has reported their abuse to authorities yet to this day. And out of all the many girlfriends I have that have opened up to me about being sexually abused, not one of them has reported it to the authorities. And yes, we are all black women. So that's why I say I believe that the numbers should be higher. I mean, in reality, they would all appear higher if more people reported their abuse. But as you can see, 8 out of 10 rapes are committed by somebody you know. Now, there were many children living in my childhood home, and out of those children, I was not amongst the ones who got raped. I was sexually abused in other ways by my older cousin that we looked at and referred to as uncle because he was much older in age. He was very friendly with children. He would try to be the cool uncle and create special bonds with us. He would let us do things we weren't allowed to do, and it would be our little secret, which is very common when a predator is trying to groom a child. They will try to have secrets kept between them and the child, hidden from the parent. He had this big thing of candy in his room, and I remember he would use that to lure me in his room, and sometimes that's how he would abuse me. When my muscles would hurt from, let's say, growing pains or just random pains, he would say, "You know, I studied to be a massage therapist. I can help you. Come." And that's another opportunity he would use to abuse me. Other times, he would call me into his room under the pretense of one thing, and then he would put porn on the TV to try and make it easier to commit the abuse. I think one thing parents need to realize is that predators will always put themselves in a situation or in a position to always have easy access to children. So you can't automatically trust the cool uncles, the coaches, the pastors, the teachers. There does always need to be some boundaries and rules set in place. One thing that I think contributed to my case of being abused, and I'm sure people who grew up in a Caribbean household will be able to relate. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a non-toxic Jamaican household, to be honest, where there wasn't some type of violence or abuse going on. So that's why I say that. I'm sure people who lived in a Caribbean household can relate to this. But something the parents often say is, respect your elders. Do as you're told. Don't talk back. So I was discouraged from questioning adults and talking back, and I strongly believe that that did put me in a vulnerable position because I was constantly conflicted. Like, how do I say no to this? Because I know it's wrong. It feels wrong. So how can I be combative in that situation and still be an obedient daughter? Now, as an adult, that may not make much sense, but many things that make sense to a child will not make sense to adults. And that's why so many victims take so long or never even come forward. It's because they're judging their childhood self from the lenses of their adulthood self. And that's when they start asking themselves questions that they know other adults will ask. And the answers they come up with don't necessarily make sense, as an adult that is. But as a child, they do. Questions like, why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you leave the room? A child probably won't have a mature answer for that question. So as an adult listening to a victim's story, you might judge that victim as immature or stupid because as a child, they did not react in a way that an adult might react in that same situation. My dad used to tell me, we have to obey our elders. We have to respect our elders because the Bible says yada, yada, yada. But parents, please encourage your children to be inquisitive. Teach them not to fear adults because you are there to protect them. In my house, I did not feel protected. Any family member that entered that house had the right to treat us as they pleased, had the right to abuse us, beat us, treat us badly, and my father would never really say anything to protect us from that bad treatment and that physical abuse. Only my father's children were treated that way. My father never hit any other member's child in that house, but his children were everyone's punching bag. And it was clear. And that's why I hate many of my uncles today. You guys want to be all friendly now that I'm an adult, but I don't fuck with you. And I could never forget the way you beat me, like I was some enemy in the street. That's why I don't be responding to y'all on Facebook. I don't like you. I didn't feel protected as a child. As a parent, you choose to bring children into this world. And as you do so, it is your responsibility and your duty to protect them and to give them a safe environment. And if you can't do those simple things, abort mission. Pun intended. Children aren't born into this world to give you and provide you the unconditional love that you never received from your parents as a child. But what could my father have done to prevent the abuse from ever happening? What can parents do to prevent their child from ever being sexually abused? Well, I think the number one thing would be to talk to your child openly about the subject. Don't let it be a taboo subject that you don't want to touch on and that you're ashamed or shy to speak on. And when doing so, refrain from using words like pee and nana when referring to their genitalia. Use the correct terms. It's called a vagina. It's called a penis. It's called testicles. Don't shy away from using those correct terms. My dad used to tell us, don't go into your uncle's room. But he never said why. He never said he suspected him of being a pedophile. He just said, don't go into his room. When you can give your child a reason for an action or a reason for your instruction, a child is much more likely to follow that instruction because they understand the reasoning behind it. So they will be more likely to follow your instructions. Don't teach your children to blindly obey. And teach your children how to react in a grooming situation. Teach your children how to react when someone is trying to approach them in a sexual way. Teach them what that approach might look like and teach them exactly what to say, what to do in that situation, how to react. Chances are you're a survivor of sexual abuse yourself, and that's why you found yourself here watching this video today. You might want to speak to your child about your own experiences, just to avoid them from feeling shy or ashamed of speaking to you about theirs. Communicate with your child. Make them feel safe. Let them know they can talk to you about anything and prove it. Gain their trust. A lot of parents complain about not being able to trust their kids, But can your kids trust you? That's very important. Now, some of you may say, what does she know? She doesn't have any kids. And you're right, I don't have any children. But what I will say is, one of my family members directly prevented their child from being sexually abused by teaching the child how to react in such situations, respecting their child's boundaries when they don't want to give a hug or a kiss to somebody or a relative, teaching them that their consent matters, so they don't need to accept hugs and kisses from people when they don't want to, teaching your child about body autonomy. Body autonomy is the right for a person to govern what happens to their own body without external influence or coercion. I hope I'm saying that right. This is a very important concept for all children to be taught and to understand. As adults, we are in a position to help prevent abuse from happening to our kids and to empower them to disclose if such an unfortunate thing were to happen. There are many ways to help prevent, and I may make another video where I go more in depth. But this family member's child, when they were approached sexually by an adult, a caretaker, they spoke up immediately and said, no, I don't like that. I don't feel comfortable. Mommy said no. No one is allowed to touch my private part. And they ran to the next room, isolated themselves, and waited for a responsible adult to come. So teach your kids to trust their instincts. There are sick people out there, and they're most likely closer than you think. Now, can you prevent abuse 100% of the times? Probably not. So how do you react when your child comes to you about being abused? What are some things you can do or say to make them feel comfortable to bring that conversation to you? Because when you're able to talk about your abuse, then and only then will you be able to start your healing process. And that's why I want to continue talking about these important topics on my channel, not only for my own healing, but for yours. So if you're interested in continuing this conversation and hearing about how my father and my family reacted when I opened up to them about being abused, I'll be addressing that in my next video. So please do subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Turn your post notifications on so you don't miss that. And if you need anyone to talk to about your abuse or any other issues in your life, send me an email. I'm here for you, and I'm willing to talk to anyone if that brings you comfort or ease. My email is always in the description box below. Until next time, thank you for being here. Be good and be better. Love you.